Hello. Yay. Hi, friends. Welcome. Welcome. How's everybody doing today? I see new faces. Well, new to me. You might have been in my community for a while, and then this is the first time that I see you on an event. So welcome. Thank you for being here. Harry, I also see you. I recognize your handle now. So I'd love to hear if you want to pop it into the comments or in the chat box. I guess we're not on Facebook, right? Where you are calling in from as we wait for people to hop on. Colorado. Awesome. Caroline's here. Oh, Louisiana. Awesome. Hi, Caroline. Caroline's going to be, I live in Italy. I'm just on the outside of Pisa, and Caroline's going to be down in Sorrento and the Amalfi Coast. Or are you already there? You're on your way?
I'm in Naples.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah,
You're
I just got here. Yeah.
Excellent. Good for you for being here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. It's cool to be here on Zoom with you, even though I'm in your same country. Feels special.
Yeah, you're down the road.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, Valerie. Cool. So thank you all for being here. I am, just grateful that you chose to sign up and to spend your time with me. I will try my best to stay on my agenda. And that way we can get you out of here within the 90 minutes, and you can leave with lots of information and some actionable steps that you can start to implement into your business and start seeing results. And then at the end, I'll also talk about the mastermind, which is the doors open. You'll be getting an email here soon in your inbox as well, that the doors to the mastermind are opening today. So this is an event that one of the many events that I'll be having to talk about the mastermind. So I will also be sharing that with you as well. So let me, of course, so if you've never been on an event with me, just know that I am a Virgo, which means that I love order and lists. And I'm also a 2-4 projector with a quad left arrows, which means like order and alignment and things being in like very specific ways of doing things. And so I usually have an outline on these just so I can stay on track. So I'll be bouncing back and forth as you're thinking of things or as things are coming to you. I would love for you to pop them into the chat and just share what's coming up for you if you do have any questions. And then I will, we'll pause, and this will be interactive too. So I'll be pausing and inviting you into a conversation to talk about what's coming up for you. And then we will have a Q&A at the end to ask any questions about the content or to ask any questions about the mastermind as well. So first of all, I would love to hear from all of you, what brought you here? What are you hoping to learn today? What are what stood out for you in the content that made you sign up? And if you want to just unmute yourself, or if you want to put it in the chat box, happy to have you share that either way.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So I am in Shannon's group coaching program. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I see actually a couple of you that I already know from that program. You're here. And I've missed some of the live calls, and of course I can watch the recordings, but I'm here because I wanted to get some more live time with Shannon because I always feel like I walk away with so much more energy and confidence. And this just felt like another great opportunity to learn from you, Shannon.
Love it.
Thanks.
Love it. And I just want to say too, Caroline and I knew each other from like fully different lives. When I used to work at a nightclub as the cocktailer, I was also a hairstylist. This was like in 2000 and what, 2010, 2009, 8, like way, way, way back in the day. So it just goes to show you also that you never know who's going to hire you, who's in your orbit. So it's always fun when people from my other life, it's when I was still partying and drinking. I'm sober now. So yeah, very different life. We both had very short hair, little pixie cuts. We were both adorable. I'd say more smoking hot, but okay, let's see. So I've been in a plateau for years. I'm here to up-level my messaging to attract my menstrual fertility dream clients. Love it. I just found you and don't remember how, but your content is something with which I can relate. I don't have a coach, and I now know that in order for me to get the stability I seek, I need a guide. This was a chance to get to see your personality vibe. Love it. That is exactly what these events are for. If you're in my orbit for any length of time, you'll know that I love video. I love doing lives. I am a jackass over on Instagram. So if you want like my true personality, the reels are where my personality really comes out. And it's at the Shannon Whaley. But yeah, video is what really converts and gives people an idea of, my phone is, I hear my phone somewhere and it's probably going to go off to tell me, that it's time for bed. So if it rings and I fumble around, that's what's going on. Okay, I'm working on changing my business model from hours for dollars to a more productized model. And I'm learning all I can about how to change my thought processes for that. Also, I love when I find other ladies with tattoos. Ooh, love it. Yes. Awesome. Hi, Kimberly. I'm so happy you're here. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I love that everybody's here for a different reason. And, like I said, like, as we're going through this, there'll be lots of things and lots of pieces. I'm toggling back and forth between notes so I can see some of you, but not all of you. And I can't see the chat box. So I'll be coming back and forth and we'll be chatting about this. So for those of you who are new to me, so I have been in business for what, 8 years now. I started my business back in 2015 and I went through my first coach training. I got my first coaching credential through the International Coaching Federation, and then proceeded to do the extra work to get the next level of credential through the ICF. So I am a PCC level coach. And have been part of the International Coaching Federation since probably, I think I registered maybe like in 2016. So that was when Amy Porterfield, Marie Forleo, Gabby Bernstein, all of them were just on fire. And so Amy Porterfield and Marie Forleo, whatever they said, I was in B school. I joined from Amy Porterfield's bonuses, right? So like I was deep into the marketing and the way that they told us to run our businesses, right? And you'll hear me say like bro marketing, but very much females are in the bro marketing space, right? But it's really more Gary V. You'll sleep when you're dead. I heard that he's lightening up a little bit, but what the message that we got was that you have to be everywhere, all over the place. You have to have a WordPress website. You have to have an email list. You have to have all of these things. You have to be in all of the places. And if you don't, you're not going to be successful. your business will not run well, right? I ate that shit up. Me being like, I'm a projector too, if you follow human design. So I love consuming information. I love learning things, and then I love teaching them. So my design really is around being a guide, being a teacher. So I was like, this is my calling. I actually had a dream about being a marketing coach, and it woke me up, and I like sat up and I was like, oh my God, this is it. So I ran my business in all the hustle, and it served me well. I was successful. I sold out my one-on-one. I had 13 one-on-one clients, which I have 3 one-on-one clients right now, which is like plenty. Maybe one, like I'd like one more, right? But I had 13 one-on-one clients. I had a group program that I created. I was falling asleep at my computer. My brain, like I was burnt out. I was also a coach trainer. So part of being one of the reasons why I got credentialed through the International Coaching Federation was so that I could become a coach trainer. I love teaching. And I started working for a coach training company. Well, me being me, I really excelled at the sales part and the marketing, and so was quickly rewarded-ish. I was promoted, and so I moved up the ranks. I was the #1 salesperson, so they hired me on as the sales and marketing coordinator. And so this was definitely a business where it was all pink and frilly, right? And sisterhood, but then behind the scenes, it was very much hustle. And I was working 60 hours a week. And I eventually paused my coaching business to be full-time contractor for a year with that company. And it was a learning experience in so many ways. And so February 2020, my contract was up and I decided not to renew. And this is the danger of hustle, is that it works. Hustling works, right? You're going to get hired, you're going to do all of these things, but then what happens is your brain really starts to, this is exactly what my brain did, which was, well, if it took me this much to get to 5K, 6K, 7K months, it's going to take me this much to get to the 10, 12, 15K months. And so then you start to do things to sabotage yourself because your brain is like pumping the brakes. I can't do this. And that's exactly what happened. So once I got out of the coach training company, it was very successful. It was $1 million company. We just blew everything up, and, so again, rewarded. It was a very successful situation. And I was just so burnt out. So I relaunched my business in February 2020. I started working with my coach in 2019 at some point, and was so resistant. She's a pussy-based, pleasure-based business coach, right? I didn't align with the whole pussy talk and all of that, but I could hold on for a minute to the pleasure because I had tried the hustle. So I was like, what would happen if I just put my self-care and my mental health and my physical well-being first and try to run my business that way versus putting it on the back burner? And lo and behold, my business exploded. And it was right when the pandemic, I'm in Italy, right? So it was February 2020 is when it started coming down from Milan all the way down, right? The country. And now we're in this global pandemic. So even during the pandemic, so fast forward, February 2020 was when I relaunched my business. In that time, I just looked at the numbers. I've made over $500,000 in cash. My business has, right? And so and I share this so that for several reasons, because as I'm going to be talking about the mastermind, I'm adding in some really cool coach training and coach mentoring pieces that are coming from my history as a coach trainer, because it's a huge gap that I see in the industry. And also sharing that there might be resistance around the anti-hustle piece that we're going to talk about, right? Because we're so used to being hyper productive and rewarded for doing all of the things. And I'm going to be talking about doing things that might feel counterproductive. And I don't ever ask you to blindly trust me, right? But I do ask you to try new things out. And it's going to feel weird because it's right. So it's like I work out, I'm on this new fitness journey again, right? And so like I have a lot of fitness analogies, but it's just like when you hire a trainer or you're going in the gym or you're doing something new, right? Like you're like, this doesn't feel good like this. So I also invite you to check in. Does this not feel good because it's against your values? Because it doesn't feel in alignment? Or does it not feel good because it's uncomfortable? You've never done it before. It's kind of pushing up against your edges. It feels a little edgy and right. So there's a difference between like, no, this is like going against a core value of mine. Some people are like, I will not DM people. That's also my thing. Like, I will not cold message people. If we've never communicated, I'm not going to fucking message you. You don't have to worry about that. That's not my thing. I'm a projector, right? I need the invitation. If you haven't invited me, I am not coming over. Right. But there's other people who they don't give a shit. They're just like, yeah, no, I'm just going to invite myself in. Right. So for me, if a coach was like, no, you need to do this, it would like literally make my body which is like what I had to do with the coach training company. Right. And I was like, this is the worst. So I'm not going to ask you to do things that are against your values. And if that comes up, let's talk about it. Right. But we're going to talk about things that maybe go against what you've heard in the industry because those voices are very loud. Gary V, Marie Forleo, they're very loud, prevalent voices. And so, the more quiet, not that I'm quiet, but the more gentle, right? Like anti-hustle. What are you doing to rest? How do you build play into your week? Not saving it for the weekend. These are things that I'm going to be asking you to do. I just had a client in anti-hustle business school. I take an integration week the last week of every month. So I don't have client calls. And she just started implementing this in her business. And she's like, oh my God, one, this is amazing. And two, so much fear is coming up around, are clients going to not want to hire me? Am I going to be losing money? Right. And so really pushing this edge and exploring it and being playful and really looking at that. So let's dive into the content today. And we're going to be chatting and talking about really how to and why you need to elevate your message as you are raising your rates. One of the things that literally all of my clients, all of them raise their rates when we're working together, because what I find is that most people aren't charging enough. And this is never charge your worth. That's not the conversation we're having. That's a conversation that it like has been had over the years. It's charging what your for your time, for your experience, for your expertise. It's charging for the deliverables. It's charging for your team. It's charging for the things that you're offering in between sessions. So I know that Heather said that she's moving from hours for dollars. This is right where the shift really happens when you start charging for the transformation. You start charging for all of the other things than just how many hours you're on the call. Also, we're talking about what can you hold? So if you're charging $50 a session and I immediately say you need to be charging $1,000 a month, your nervous system is going to be so blown out that you're just like you're probably just going to shut down and you're not right. Like if your body and your like brain are not on board with your pricing, you're going to find ways to sabotage sales calls. You're not going to show up on social media. You're not going to be talking about your program. You're going to be doing weird shit behind the scenes that's just going to derail your business and you're going to shut down. So that is not good advice. Raise your rates, charge as much as you can, right? That's not what we're doing. But what happens is when you raise your rates, you are no longer talking to the same person, right? So you are talking to a different level, a different demographic in your larger demographic. And I just want to say too, so usually we have a niche, right? So we have this umbrella niche, and then each program we offer speaks to a specific demographic within that niche. And so usually my one-on-one client, usually this is like for 99% of the people, I advise my clients to start with one-on-one coaching because for so many reasons, some of them being usually you have a smaller audience, you are just figuring out what you're selling, you're figuring out your messaging, you're figuring out your packaging, right? There's oftentimes you have to educate your community about what you're doing, how you do it, why you do it, and all of those things, right? So it's easier to get 1-2 one-on-one clients versus trying to fill up a group program, right? But then as you start to build your business, you have a couple one-on-one clients, you start to now the whole scale, right? We're going to add in another program. So usually your one-on-one rates are going to increase because what happens and what I see happening is that when you are charging the lower rates, you're just getting started, you start to build your confidence and you realize, I actually don't want to be talking about this shit to my one-on-one clients anymore. I want to be talking about more advanced stuff, right? So then what typically happens is that you change your one-on-one program a little bit to speak to a different, more advanced, further along on the readiness to change scale. They're more invested. They're more hungry for their results, right? So that is going to be a different person than just getting started, not really sure what they want to be doing. You feel like you're kind of dragging them along, right? So then your messaging has to change so that you stop talking to those people. So the importance of having clear messaging and really positioning yourself in attracting these clients, what this does is it really starts to help differentiate your brand and differentiate the different programs that you're offering. Ideally, the way that I work with my clients is that we create their programs. We have their one-on-one program, then we kind of reverse engineer, right? So we create their one-on-one program. They start collecting information and data from their one-on-one clients so that they can then create. I just did this with a one-on-one client. She's a money management and mindset coach. We filled up her one-on-one. She was doing all of that. And so then we started looking at what are the things that you're talking about in your one-on-one that you could turn into a group program? What do you wish the people who hire you, what do you wish they already knew? Or what are some of the things that you wish that they would already come to you knowing or prepared for? So that's how we reverse engineered and created a group program. So then she raised her rates, had this group program, right? Filled that up. So now she has a pool of new potential one-on-one clients, or not. They might just stay. That might just be how they want to work with her, which is totally fine, right? But she's also getting them ready. And so you want to be creating programs that lead into one another that make sense. You don't really want to be creating a program, right, that just like drops them off and like, see you later. Like, I don't really do any of this. Trust me, because I've done it before. I was like, oh, this didn't work out the way that I planned it. And so that's what we're doing. And so what you want to do is you really want to differentiate your messaging between your different programs to set you apart from the other people who do similar things to you, right? So really clear messaging and positioning helps you stand out from the crowd in sometimes a very crowded marketplace. The internet's very noisy. I guess also just depends on like who you're hanging out with. I have lots of coaches and service providers on my page, so I'm seeing a lot, but I also know that that's right. Like we're seeing who we've added, and there's like lots of noise. So maybe you're lucky and that's not your experience. And so you don't see how many other people are out here doing what you're doing. So ignorance is bliss for sure in that area, but it really sets you apart from competitors, people who are doing similar things, right? And really showcases to your community and those different demographics how you solve their specific problem or pain point, or how you touch upon their desires in each of your offers. So also, as you really start to dial in your messaging and positioning for each offer, you start to get more clear on the target audience, the target client for each of your programs. And so this is why, and this is one of the things that we'll do in the mastermind. We're doing it in Anti-Hustle Business School right now, which is really defining your target audience, the specific client for this particular program, so that you can really tailor your message and speak directly to their needs, their desires. Who do they want to be? How do they want to feel? What do they want to experience? What do they want to have? And this really helps you attract the right kind of clients for that offer, who are more likely to value your programs and your offerings, and then become loyal clients and follow you in the different programs that you're creating, right? And so this is why eventually it's great to have multiple smaller different offers, right? Because people might not be able to ever invest in your one-on-one. You can also do scholarships, you can do sliding scale, but first you really need to make sure that, and this is something that we talk about in the mastermind too, in terms of creating scholarships and those different opportunities to help different people in your community access your services. But first, we really want to make sure that you're making money, that you're making a profit before we start adding in those layered things, because it creates, it can start to create some resentment. Like if you're just like, I'm working all the time, but I have all these sliding scale and I'm like not making any money. So we really want to make sure that you're making money first, but we'll deal with that in the mastermind. So having the messaging dialed in and really speaking to their pain points, not to dig into their pain points. So really an old way of marketing was to really know their pain points, to just like dig into them and poke the wounds, right? And then position yourself as the only person who could help them. And that's just not right. That's not ethical marketing. But you need to know their pain points, because you need to know the flip side of that. You need to know how they want, okay, so this is what they're experiencing. What do they want instead? And you can talk about their pain points. It's not like you want to completely stay away from it in your marketing. You just don't want to stay there, because you start to attract people who are still in that pain, who are still, right, not maybe so eager to move into the next stage of change. And sometimes when you're only talking to pain points, you might not even be talking to people who are coachable. They might need other mental health services before they're even able to be coached, right? So there's lots of things here around that. As you really start to elevate your messaging and really start speaking to the people for this specific program, it really starts to build the trust and the credibility of you, what you do, how you do it, why you're the best at what you do, why you chose this niche, this profession. And so when your messaging is clear, it's really consistent, you will probably feel like you're talking about the same thing over and over and over again, which is such a good thing for me to hear, because that means that you are staying on brand, that you are saying the same thing in different ways, because people need to hear things multiple times before it really starts to sink in. And so that also just builds the trust and credibility, right? Like, if you are bouncing around from topic to topic because you're like, oh, I just feel like I'm talking about this too much, I'm just going to start talking about this like random thing. And then you're just kind of like shooting all over, and there's no consistency, there's no brand cohesion. It just starts to be confusing. People aren't quite sure like what you're selling or what's going on, right? And so they're going to be following and learning from people who are talking about the same thing and talking about what their struggles are, how they help them, right? Pay attention to who you pay attention to as well. Really start to think about and start to dissect your own marketing or buying habits, to just start to get curious about what this can look like. And so as you build the trust and credibility, they really start to understand what you offer and how it can benefit them. And then that encourages them and makes them more likely to engage with your brand. So let me see. Awesome. I'd love to hear what's coming up for anybody around, hi Rosa, around this piece, around elevating your marketing, talking about the same thing over and over again. Does this feel boring? Do you feel like you're doing this?
I think one of the things that I struggled with in the past that I'm trying to sort of relearn on this topic is to elevate the marketing and really make it more about them rather than about me, like talking about my story and then hoping that they'll glean, their own possibilities through it, through hearing mine. And so I'm just so curious about, like what that process looks like, elevating it to touch on their problems and make sure I know that they feel seen, but then also really focusing on the solutions and making sure that they hear themselves in the story, that they hear themselves in the solution. And they're not just like, Caroline's talking about herself again.
Yeah. See, I used to think the same thing too. And then when I found out that I was a projector, I was told like, this is literally what I'm supposed to be doing. And so, there's like a lot of things that I feel like we're supposed to take naps and we're supposed to like rest and stuff. And I just feel like everybody could be doing that. That's not like a projector thing, but us especially. So I don't know what your design is, but what I learned through all of that is that, I mean, if you're only talking about Caroline and you're never talking, right, which we're not going to do, but the stories are really like what gets people interested in you. It's what gives people an idea of like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. Look at all the hikes she's been on. Look at all of the, pictures. And, you're talking about your cookbook and you're talking about like all of these things, right? And you're sharing like recipes and this is my favorite, right? And so like, it really starts to build that trust that you do know what you're talking about. And so if that's like literally all you're doing is sharing stories, yeah, I would throw in some like client testimonials and client stories. And there's also a way to write where, like when you're journaling and it's like, this is what I want, or this is what I want to experience or be, like literally all you have to do is just write, this is what you want. Because we attract our people, right? So if I'm just like, oh, my desire is just to have a business that feels so fucking good and just, it runs on repeat and clients can't wait to work with me. all I say is you can't wait for your business to feel so fucking good where clients are just running to the door and they can't wait to work with you. Right? Super small, but really impactful change in storytelling.
I love that. And I think it would also weed out like the random dudes who comment on my posts who are not my ideal client and they just have an opinion about some shit. You know, if I'm using language like you want to stand on top of a mountaintop and feel the wind blowing through your hair, and
Yes.
you want to set up a tent by yourself for the first time and know that you just did it like a boss, like then these random ass
Totally.
dudes won't be bothering me.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, I love
Yeah.
that. Thanks for that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy that helped. Okay. So, um, you, one way, I want to give you a couple ways that you can start to think about how to identify your ideal client or customer for your different offers. So we've all heard about target market research. That's one way to do it. There's more fun ways to do that or call it, right? So if you give away free calls, one of the ways that I teach and talk to my clients about just like getting people on the phone and getting them off of the computer and out of your groups and onto a call, right? Which is having like a very targeted call. Let's just say, so I was doing like the roadmap to 20K or the roadmap to 10K or 5K, whatever it was. And so it was to talk about their specific business. So I got to hear, so tell me what you're struggling with. What's feeling hard in your business? This is all market research that I would have, if I was like, oh, do you want to do a market research call? Right. But like, it was just framed in a different way. So it's like, do you want to have a free call? You're going to walk away with 1 to 2 action items that you can start to implement in your business or in your life, right? Or in your relationship. And you can start to see a shift in that. Who wants these free calls, right? You could also use those to talk about your program and ask them, like, have you ever considered working with a coach? There's different ways to form these, right? But it doesn't have to be like, hey guys, I'm doing market research. Does anybody want to get on a call with me? Those are probably less likely to get filled than if you said, I'm giving away a free audit, a business audit, or whatever feels on brand for what you're doing. And sales calls, like I want to talk to you about your sales call process. And if you're struggling with closing sales, then book one of these calls and let's figure out where the gap is or what's going on, right? Boom, you're going to get calls booked. So use this. So I would say record the calls, take crazy notes, because you're going to get so much information from them about what they're struggling with, what they want, who they are, what they desire, what's not working, all of these things, right? And then you can use that in your marketing, like literally verbatim. You don't even have to make up, I wonder what they're thinking. They're telling you what they're thinking, right? So then you can create content around that. You're going to hear lots of objections. Now you have objection handling posts. Now you get to work on handling objections or coaching through resistance, right? Like same thing. Another way is to create, and this is like a very like sales psychology term, but like having like a buyer persona or like an ideal client for each of your offers. And so one thing that I teach you in the mastermind or in any program of mine that you're in, right, is that each of your programs is going to have a different buyer persona. It's going to have a different ideal client. And so you want to use that information to have an idea in your head of who you're actually talking to. Because when you are showing up on social media and you feel like you're just screaming into the void and you're just trying to talk to everybody, that is a lot harder to write content for versus if you have just one specific person, or maybe you just have a couple people in your audience where you're like, I would love to work with them and I am going to speak to them specifically, but other people are going to hear it, right? But if you can sometimes this makes writing content easier, is if you have one specific person and you can really leverage your message and your content and your posts to speak directly to them. And so then that really starts to make content creation a lot easier. And then also remembering, so sales is like it's, you're building relationships, but it's also an emotional, yes, people buy like based on, statistics and all of this, but like usually it's an emotional purchase. And so we want to really be speaking to, again, like not poking at the pain points, but knowing what they are, using the emotional language, using the storytelling, talking about like, what was it like for you when you were struggling with the thing that you're coaching around? Or maybe you have journals that you can go through, or you have your market research that you've done, right? But when you are speaking to those deeper points, and even the emotional piece of like, I just want to know what it's like to feel the freedom of having my own money. I'm so tired of, and so like, this is the pain point, right? Like, I'm so tired of depending on my partner for money. I want to know what it's like to have money in my bank account and know that that's what I earned, and to be able to buy my kids gifts with my hard-earned money, right? So you're speaking to those feelings, that emotional piece of those desires, of that yearning. That's what people are going to fucking grab onto. That's what's going to perk their ears. And so that's also why it's important to like know who you're speaking to, because when it's just more broad and it's just kind of like, I don't know, just like kind of like throwing shit out there versus like really getting specific about those feelings, right? That's what people are going to listen to. So I did some research, and I want to talk just like quickly about like successful messaging, and there's a couple that I know you'll be able to understand. So like Apple is one of them, right? So their slogan or whatever is think different. And so this really lands with their customers who are like innovative and more creative and like cutting edge, right? And they want like the newest gadgets. And so it really positions that company as the go-to place to purchase these products, right? And that they really celebrate like independent thinking. And then we've seen Nike when they just do it, and the empowerment, right? And the motivation, just like get out there and do the things. And so this really sets them apart. And one thing, like, as I was thinking about this, was one of my clients. So she was in the last round of the mastermind. Her name is Val Jones. I did an interview with her that I'll be sharing in the emails later. But she is a coach for midlife women. And oftentimes those women they're reinventing themselves. They're going through a divorce. They're going through change, right? And so her messaging, one of the things that we were working on was her messaging. And she noticed that she was really attracting women who were like, should I stay or should I go? And I'm not really sure yet, right? And they weren't the kind of clients that were super pumped to pay her prices. They were still kind of like on the fence. And so like, didn't really see the point of hiring her because like, I'm not sure, right? We changed the one piece of her marketing, and she really started to think about her message, and she stopped touching on pain points so much and really started focusing on what they want their life to look like on the other side. Her business, and I say like overnight, right? But we know that that's false. She had been in business like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. Her business literally changed overnight with this one little piece of messaging. She blew up on TikTok. She's got like, I don't even know her number on TikTok, but shit started going viral. So she filled up her Facebook group. She sold out her one-on-one. She sold out her group program. She sold out her retreat. She's like, I don't have anything else to sell. I don't know what to do with myself, which is a great next level problem to have, right? but it was that one little, very small piece of her messaging that really set her apart from all the other midlife coaches, all of the other, midlife reinvention and divorce coaches, right? And she really took that and ran with it and just saw a huge shift in her business. So it just goes to show that oftentimes you don't have to make like huge changes or like throw your whole strategy away. Sometimes, and this is why you want to change small things, try it out, change another little small thing, right? Instead of just changing all of the things. Like imagine if we just were like, all right, like let's change this and like let's do a different strategy and let's trash TikTok and go over here, like maybe LinkedIn or whatever, right? Like, no, she stayed the course and then changed this one piece and tested that out. And that's what blew her business up. So I want to open this up. I'd love to hear what you're hearing for yourselves. If there's any questions so far. I see that Wild said, I'm now wondering if I'm jumping off brand, and happy to chat about that as well. Because I will say this too, like you can make your whatever your brand. Like I can't even tell you how many people send me videos of tiny hands, of cats, right? Like I'm obviously a business anti-hustle business coach that like, why would they be sent? But that's now like part of my brand. So you can always like make your personality part of your brand. Any thoughts or questions coming up for anyone? Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about ethically raising your rates. So this is one thing. So VP Wright is my support coach, and she's also one of the speakers that comes into all of my programs. And she's a diversity, equity, and inclusion anti-racist business coach. And we met years ago, 2020, when she was starting coach training. And I was leaving coach training, and I brought her on years later to be part of my business, to help me with my scholarship program in Anti-Hustle Business School and Ignite, and help me make sure that my messaging is on point, and really helping me look at the different aspects like hiring in my business and making sure that there are equitable pricing structures, and more inclusive language in my marketing and all of that. So one of the things that she will be doing in the mastermind is talking to you, if you decide to join us this round, around ethical pricing structures, how to ethically raise your rates, what that means. I know we're in this industry where we see astronomical prices, and some of them are warranted, right? Like the expertise of some of the people and what they're delivering and how they deliver it. Like, yes, that price tag matches it. And sometimes that's not actually the case, right? And so there are ways that we can raise our rates and ways that we can charge that are more ethical than other ways. Like if you're adding on, 20 to 50% on payment plans, definitely not an ethical pricing structure. But I want to talk about, what that'll look like. And she also has, and she'll be bringing into the mastermind, she has like this whole spreadsheet where she helps you put in the hours that you're spending on launching the program, the deliverables, like, how much time are you spending on the sales page? How much time are you spending marketing? What's your hourly rate, right? And it's this whole spreadsheet that just like, and then it tells you what you should be charging theoretically, right, for your program. And then, so that's like the strategic piece, but then it's what can you energetically hold? Like and I realized too, like when I started working with her, she's like, honey, you are not charging enough for what you do. And I was like, oh, queen of raise your rates. Like, let's get you, making more money. I was not charging enough. Right. And so it was just an interesting way to look at what I needed to be doing, and what I needed to be doing mindset wise and energetic wise to be able to hold these new higher rates, right? So let's bust some common myths about undercharging and look at kind of like the benefits of what charging more for your stuff, other than like, more money. So one of the myths that I've heard is that undercharging is necessary in order to attract clients. Like, I'm just getting started and I need to not charge very much because I am not finished with coach training yet. I haven't had any clients yet. I am new in this niche. I've been working with my one-on-one client, Kristen, for years. And she was already a very successful salon owner in the Seattle area. We brought her salon to 7 figures. She hired me to help her with her marketing on social media and really help her build her business and her brand for the salon on social media. And so we worked on her mindset and we got the salon up to 7 figures. And then I was like, Kristen, like, have you ever thought about being a consultant and helping other salon owners do what you're doing? Because the stuff that she does in the industry is unheard of. Like, she offers them insurance and like paid vacations and shit like that, which is not heard of in the beauty industry. And so she started her consulting business. I hear all the time from people who are doing this, she obviously knows how to run a $1 million company, but because this was like a new limb of her business, there was all this fear coming up. Oh, I'm not right. Like, this is just because this is like a new thing doesn't negate all of the shit that you've done, like all of the years. I mean, she and I worked together at the same salon that Caroline and I worked together at, right? So we've known each other for a long time and so many years of experience, but right, because this is a new thing. So this is one of the things that I see happening is like, maybe if you're changing niches or if you're changing directions a little bit or whatever, sometimes people want to drop their rates or not charge very much because they think that no one's going to buy. I'm new to this, right? Reality. People value expertise and quality over price. People will look at, what are you offering? What is your expertise? Tell me why I should hire you. I don't know if you're in the same circles, maybe you're seeing what I see, but like, I literally see people, and I do this too. Hire me if you want this. Like, sometimes you just have to, and that might be an edge for you in your content. So permission to play with that edge, right? But if you're not being that bold, invitation to be that bold in your content. Hire me if you want business to feel easier. Hire me if you want to learn how to put your own tent up so that you don't have to depend on going with your boyfriend or your partner every time. Hire me if you want to have or be or experience X, Y, and Z, and just put that out there and see how that feels. But people will really look at, what's the value? How is this going to change my life? What is the transformation that I can hope to experience by working with you? And ideally, when you start speaking to those people, price becomes less of an issue, right? I'm sure we've all had that where it's like, I don't fucking care how much this costs me. Like, this needs to be done now. I need to have right? Like, this is why we pay like extra fees to get things delivered early or on time or whatever, right? So just remember that. So the second myth is that higher rates mean less work. So I've heard this too, in that, once I start charging more, it's less work. Like, it's not going to be as hard. Higher rates can definitely attract higher quality clients and allow you to work less while making the same income. And there's a difference between ease and easy. So there is also a way for your business and for things to feel like there's a sense of ease, but sometimes things aren't easy. I'm fully transparent, right? Like sometimes business is really fucking hard, but there's also more sense of ease when you have nervous system regulation, you have somatic tools and practices, you have your mindset on lock, you have a support system. So there's lots of different ways to make things feel like there's more sense of ease. Any thoughts or comments before I dive into the next section? Yes, it is such an important distinction. And I hear that too, like, oh, I thought it was going to be easy by now. I mean, I still say this too to my own coach. Like, why is it this easy yet? It's like, well, business is still hard. Like, there's some things that are still hard. You still have to work. We just get this sense of like, oh, that person just fills up their programs and they just make it look so easy. Well, you're not in their mastermind. You're not, right? Like in their one-on-one sessions with their coach. Totally. Same. And the hard part with that too is, right, like you don't want to share, like when you're in the middle of a launch, I'll just share this too, right? Like when you're in the middle of the launch and it's not going as planned, you don't really want to like share and have your like public temper tantrum and be like so transparent because you're in it, right? You can share maybe when you are out of it or when things like when you've cleared some of the stuff, right? But you certainly like don't necessarily publicly want to like share all of that. You can eventually. Okay. So let's talk about talking to your new demographic. So why is it important to expand your reach and really start to speak to this, well, each new demographic, right? And so when you know who your target client is for your different offers, when you've created a client persona for your one-on-one, for your group program, or maybe you have workshops, right? This is where people can differentiate and kind of self-select where they belong in your funnel. Some people have really averse feelings about that word, sales funnel, business model. It's all the same. This is your, what do some people call it? Client experience, right? It's a sales funnel. This program leads to this program, like your free content here, right? Maybe Facebook group is next, or maybe you're in the Facebook group and now you're here, right? And then like maybe there's going to be like a workshop or something else, or maybe you've joined Anti-Hustle Business School and you have your eye on the mastermind, or maybe you're in the mastermind, you have your eye on one-on-one, right? Like we are bringing people through the client experience. That's the word, right? So when you know how to speak to each demographic and you can really differentiate between the different programs, obviously the revenue is going to increase. You're going to sell more because you have really dialed in who you're speaking to for that thing. One of the things that I really have to drive home, and I want to drive this home with you, is do not be afraid of leaving people out when you are talking about your one-on-one, when you're talking about this group program, right? Because you have to trust that you'll get them with the next thing you're offering, your free group, the free content. Also, really start to think of your free content as part of your offering. So if you are like me, and when I first started my business, it was really important for me to have more accessible programs. And we tend to forget that our free content is so full of value that we can help people start to get results just by showing up and doing things like this, right? And so I really invite you to start thinking of that as part of your client experience, and really remembering that you bring so much value when you write content, when you share your stories, just like by being you and showing up as you and living your life, right? Like I really want to have you bake that into your mindset, that just you showing up and sharing your gifts and sharing your life and sharing your stories, those are so valuable in so many ways that, we don't necessarily have to like pick out like what the golden nugget of this story is going to be for the people in our community. We can just tell a story and trust that they're going to get the nugget out of it for themselves, and they'll choose what that nugget is. Let's see, in October, I'll have 10 years of sobriety. And I used to share more, I guess, I don't know, I'm further out of it, right? So I don't share like too much as much, but I used to share just like, thoughts and stories of that. And the messages that would come in, that still come in, of like, oh, you shared this story and this is what I got out of it. And I'm like, that's what you got out of it? That's so interesting. Cause that's not like really maybe what the point of it was, or right. But like people will pick up the things that they needed to hear. And so really trusting that in your own content, that they're going to pick up and get what they need. And just sometimes your stories don't even need a call to action. Maybe you're just feeling called to share something, or share a funny thing, or share an insight or a breakthrough, or something that you've processed or whatever, and let that be the value. So as you start to differentiate between your different programs, and you really are able to speak directly to each of the people, right, in the program, like I said, you're going to be able to sell more, you're able to refine that offer, you'll make some changes. You also reduce your dependence on like the one-on-one client demographic or the group so you really start to diversify your messaging and where your money is coming from, right? So also baking this into your mindset work, that there are people at every stage of the buying process. There are people who will pay for literally anything. I just did a post about this. If you didn't see it, it's on my page about this. Someone was like, I would buy this purse. And I was like, see, point proven. Like, it was a god awful shrimp purse. And I think it was like $1,400, and it sold out. People will literally buy anything. And so really baking this into your mindset and trusting and knowing that these people are in your audience, that we never know who is watching, who's paying attention, that there are people at every investment level in your community who is willing to buy. And you have to really start to trust that and believe that. And then if they're not, then great. Where do I need to position myself? Right? So there's like the mindset and the strategy piece. So, and then the next piece is this starts to build your reputation. It really starts to build brand awareness. So ideally your different programs are going to be, like I said, like the umbrella of what I do. And then I have the one-on-one, and then the mastermind, and then I have a social media marketing and mindset program. And then I have anti-hustle business school. And then, retreats are coming, and right. So like it really starts to build your reputation of what you offer, and it shows people your range of what you can do. So then the last part, let's see, I want to keep my eye on the time. So as you start to think about who you're marketing to for your different services, and I would recommend doing this one at a time, right? So I would say, like, as you're launching the thing, then work on that thing, get your energy fully into that. So like I said, right now we're in the mastermind launch. I am working on dialing in my own messaging for the mastermind. There's 2 different pods. One's for people, coaches and service providers making 0 to 5K a month in their business. So it is my opportunity to really dial in that messaging for that specific pod. Then there's another pod that's 5 to 15K, right? And so now, I mean, this is, I feel like this is like marketing advanced, like it's like a 401 class, not ideal. Learning how to speak to 2 different demographics at the same time for the same program, but also there's different programs. And I'll talk to you about that in just a minute. But it wouldn't make sense for me to be like, oh, I'm in the mastermind launch, or like that's coming. I'm just going to start thinking about my messaging for Ignite. And like, I wonder how I could talk to those people, right? So my recommendation is like, do this while you're in the launch so that you can get into the energy. You can offer those free calls. You can really direct everything towards that program to really start to dial in and really deeply connect with that program, why you created it, who it's for, why they need it, all of those things. And really starting to tailor your message for the program that you're launching. And then as you start to build your business and you start to scale, you want to be looking at creating programs and products and services that address the unique needs, desires, wants, preferences of the target for that new thing. And so this is if you're in the like 0 to 5K, this is a more advanced conversation. Like scaling and bringing on other offers is usually what we're going to be doing in the expansion pod. So there's 2 pods, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I just want to open this up. Are there any questions or thoughts about dialing in your messaging? In my last launch, I blocked in the previous part of the promotion. I really struggled to find what to post. Can you share more about that, Rosa?
Hi. So I had a launch last month, and I had a free event, and it was really good, amazing, the energy. Everyone was like so excited. And then from there, I launched I have a program, a 1-year membership program for creatives, artists, and filmmakers. And after the group, I waited for my content, just to see what they say and things. That's just exactly what you said, no? And then I didn't have immediately people going in, so I just like freak out, and I was like, they're not gonna buy, they're not. So it's like I entered this anxiety moment, and I think in the end I didn't know what to post. I ended, right? It's like my goal, it was to end the promotion. But just I block, and normally I'm good at, like, having the content running, and and I think it's just is the in that part that you're selling, right? That you are offering, that you is like, give me your money.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you do that, like how you like go through those moments.
Yeah. I will say that it's definitely easier when you have somebody to pulls you through it and walk you through it, right? So, I mean, this is something that I did before I had a coach and before I like knew how to launch, which was, having like a 6-week strategy. So I knew that the launch closes on this date, right? Versus like what I used to do was just like, I don't know, just like start talking about it. I'm trying to think of like, I would just start kind of like talking about it and put posts up. And like sometimes the launches did good. And like I sold one of them out. And then the other times, like nobody bought, same thing. I did like some events and I was like, oh God, nobody's buying. This is so embarrassing. I'm just going to stop. And so I just pretended like the mastermind never existed. Like, right. And so when you have somebody, like when you have a strategy and you know that these are the weeks where I'm doing these things. These are the things that I should be talking about online. So when you are writing your content, you want to be talking about what are the benefits? What are, like if you've worked with clients, like sharing testimonials, what are people's objections? Why are they worried about joining? Why, like, have people told you why they want to join, but they can't do it this time, right? So like when you also have a guide of what kind of content you can be creating, that also helps. One of the bonuses in the mastermind is going to be launch prompts. And it's 6 weeks of literally like daily prompts of like what you can journal on and write about and what to talk about online. So that helps a lot too. And then, yeah, having support and someone that you can say, I'm thinking about scrapping the whole thing and tell me why I shouldn't be doing that. And that makes things a lot easier as well. But that accountability, right, is huge, and having somebody walk you through that and then also the mindset piece. So it sounds like too that, I don't know what your mindset practice looks like or anything like that, but that's also a huge part of launching. If you don't already have like a mindset practice where you're journaling and doing some sort of like movement practices or embodiment practices, I would definitely recommend starting that now. And then once you launch, that's usually when you want to double down on those practices because it brings up a lot of stuff. Lots of fear. What if nobody buys? What if this doesn't go as planned? Like, what if everybody buys and I sell out? That's usually not the worry. It's what if nobody buys? I feel like that's a more advanced worry.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the mindset part, I think I have it covered. Yeah, it just the community and the, having that support. I think that that's the part that I think also is like what I said to my clients as well. It's like that's how just having that support, having that community that celebrates with you or cries with you.
Absolutely. Commiserates. Be like, I'm right there with you. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I want to share real quick about the mastermind, and then I'll open this up and see if there's any more questions or if there's any coaching requests. So the doors are open to the mastermind. This is a 6-month program. And I am really excited about this round because I have added in a lot of different pieces based on what I have seen. I've run the mastermind. Gosh, I can't even remember how many times now. I want to say this is maybe like my 3rd year having the mastermind. So what, that'd be 6, right? 6 rounds of this. And so what this looks like. So this is, like I said, that there's 2 pods. One is for if you're making 0 to 5K a month. The other one is if you are making 5 to 15 a month. And so there are, there's very different conversations happening with the 2 demographics. And that's why I split up the pods so that you can have the conversations that you need to be having with your people, but then you'll also have access to the recordings of the other pod. So you can listen in on what's happening at the higher level. If you want to get like a, if you want to be on a fly on a wall and hear about the different conversations that we're having. But the way that this works is that there's 3 pod calls a month with me. And there are, hi, Hannah. And so Hannah's my business manager. She will also be part of the mastermind. So there's 3 monthly calls with me, and you have a hot seat. So you'll bring your coaching requests, anything that's going on in your business, and we'll work on that during the call. One thing that I've added is a monthly training for each of the pods. So the 0 to 5K, we're talking about things such as refining your offer, really nailing your messaging. We're going to be looking at your sales process to see what needs to be tightened up, look at the contracts and all of that. We're also going to be doing work around somatics, energetics, nervous system regulation. Hannah's going to be coming in. So she's also going to be doing a monthly operations office hours. So if you're struggling with any tech stuff, if you don't know how to set up an email, if you are worried about, getting contracts delivered, anything techie or on the back end of your business, payment links, how do I set up my calendar, all of that stuff. That is not where my brain thrives. It's where Hannah's brain thrives. And so she will be doing a monthly call. She'll also be in the group. So if, there's any questions, she can address those. I'm also adding, so one of the things that I've also seen as a former coach trainer is that one of the things that keeps people from putting themselves out there and getting hired and doing the work that they want to be doing is that they don't actually feel confident as a coach. They're worried that if I get hired, people are going to see that I'm really not as good as I say I am online, or what if I get into this client situation and I freeze and I get stuck? What if I don't know how to handle something, right? That's why there's going to be a monthly coach training and mentoring call where I'll be leading it. So I'll be using the skill set that I used for multiple years as a coach trainer. And we are going to be talking about client accountability, how to help your clients get better results. We're going to be talking about how to structure the coaching call so that you can really have some cohesion in your calls. If you feel like it's kind of going off the rails and your client, there's no direction and you're wondering oh, I wonder if they got what they needed. This will help you figure out, did they get what they need? One of the things that I've also done in the last year, I was in a year-long emotional leadership training, and learning somatic tools and practices. I know it's all the rage online. You might be seeing this stuff. It is not some people are probably using it as marketing, right? I've gone through this year-long program and training to learn more about the tools that I had already been using. I just didn't know that these were somatic tools, but now I have reasoning behind them. One thing that I have seen, especially in this last round of the mastermind, is for the higher in the expansion pod, the one for 5K and above. Once you get the basics dialed in of your business, you know how to launch, you know how to sell, things are running on repeat, your systems are solid. One of the things that we really worked on predominantly in that higher level pod, it was all about mindset, energetics, regulating your nervous system, holding a bigger business, seeing more money in your bank account than you've ever seen before, and not freaking out about it. One thing that I've seen, if you're not doing this work and really level setting yourself, you will always regulate back to broke. You will try to get rid of your money as soon as you get it. And it's just, we do weird money shit. And Val and I talked about this in the interview, is that once she got all of these things sorted, like we were no longer having conversations about strategy. It was really about who she was being and how she was showing up. And so that's the one thing that I've also seen in my own business as I'm having, 15K, 20K months, is that like, I don't hire my coach for the strategy. I hire her for the somatic tools and the helping me to hold this level of a business. So I will be teaching the whole mastermind, not just the expansion pod, because everybody needs to know these tools. And you'll use these tools in your business practice. You'll use them in your life, how to really hold yourself through the hard times. Because when I talk about the level of ease, this is where that comes from, are these practices. It's not journaling. It's not thinking about shit. It's really about being able to hold this energetically in your body. We're going to be talking about, and I'll be also going through the core competencies. So if you are an ICF credentialed coach, or you are going through coach training, or maybe you've never gone through coach training, but you want to have a little bit more structure around your coaching, this is the place to do it. And I'm the person to do it with, because I literally know nobody else in my circle, especially who has the credentials and the coach training and all of that skill set that I have. In terms of the expansion pod, so we're going to be having different trainings, training topics every month. So CEO mindset and embodiment, what it looks like to hire team, what it looks like to fire team, really getting your systems automated, scaling and adding new offers. So you can see how there's different conversations, right? So like I said, the cool thing about it is that if you're in the essential pod, you'll still have access to these trainings and the recordings. So you can start to see like, what do I need to be thinking about? Like, what are the higher level conversations that are happening? How do I like start to incorporate the things that, the expansion pod are talking about now as I'm trying to build and scale? So you'll have a behind the scenes idea of what that looks like. What else? So everybody gets one-on-one calls. The essential pod, you'll get a one-on-one, 30-minute one-on-one with me to be used throughout the 6 months. You'll also get one with VP, who, like I said, is the support coach. And then if you're in the expansion pod, so we're also doing early bird right now. So normally it's $800 a month. Like I said, I don't have my phone, so I can't math. So 8 times 6 is what, 40? I don't know where my phone is. We'll just do, it rang earlier and then I'm probably sitting on it. Anyway, so so early bird is $300 off. If you're in Anti-Hustle Business School, check your email, because there is an additional discount that is in your inbox. Yeah, I just heard it. Oh, I can see it. So it's $750 a month for 6 months, or pay in full, just multiply that by 6. And if you're in the expansion pod, you get a one-on-one every month. There are 3 with me and 3 with VP. So ideally you'll stagger those, right? And I feel like that's it. There's lots of bonuses, so you'll have access to all the bonuses. Oh, another thing that I've added this round. Thank you. Did you clone that one? Okay, perfect. Oh, another thing is that I added this round is that when you join, you'll get access, free access to any of the programs that I launch. So there's a potential that I might be launching Anti-Hustle Business School again, but I will definitely launching Ignite. We're probably going to be renaming it and restructuring that, which is my social media marketing and mindset program. And that full price is $2,000. So you'll have access to that. And then you'll have access to like all the bonuses and previous trainings from, for for bookkeeping, accounting, money management, all that stuff. So you get probably more training than you'll ever fucking need in your entire life. But I love to do trainings like this, and I have lots of lots of stuff in my arsenal. So you get access to all of that. So I am here. If you have any questions about the mastermind, if you have any questions about the content that I shared today, I just want to open this up and we can go as long as you have questions. And I'm happy to chat with you about whatever. Any thoughts or takeaways?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to hear more because, to be honest, right, one of the main things that I don't see in other coaching containers in general is the skilled use, right, of the applicable use of these skills, right, for coaching. I would love to hear like a little bit more about that. What are you bringing to the mastermind?
Can you explain more? What do you mean?
Yeah. So being certified as a coach, right?
Oh,
Having these tools, right? And you're bringing
Yeah.
it into coach training every single month. Like, tell me a little bit about that because I feel like that alone is incredible.
Yeah. So so I'm also a certified mentor coach. So I went through 2 different coach training programs to get my ACC and then my CCC. And then I went through a 3rd coach training program to become a certified mentor coach, which is like a completely different way of coaching. It's mentoring. And it was so fun. And so as I was training people to become coaches, and we can do this in the program as well as in the mastermind, is like having you, like, I would love to do role plays where the coaches coach each other, and then they get feedback, which is a very vulnerable place. And it's such a learning experience for people to be able to have that and to have, a credentialed and certified coach review their actual coaching. Like, this is 100% unheard of in like a business mastermind, right? Like, this is something that you would get in a coach training program. But this is where you build your confidence. Like, this is really where I was Val's coach trainer. So Val knows what it's like, right? To be coached and have a mentor coach. And to get that feedback. Are you willing to share your experience, Val? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's not again. Shannon, being a mentor coach, and she was actually my coach trainer. Also, I have spent a lot of time with Shannon, and she taught me so much. You were get that opportunity, number of years, right? The training. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, being able to have someone listen in, and, the difference between like mentor coaching and just, I don't know, it's a very unique opportunity and way to improve your coaching skills. And so to have someone say, yeah, so tell me the reasoning behind asking that question, or what were you hoping to gain from this experience, or, now that we're done, like, what would you have done differently? Right. And it helps you start to look at your coaching skills constructively so that you can hone in on different things. Like, sometimes, I would have my students really focus on active listening. What does that look like? Or if they knew that they struggled with using silence as a coaching tool and they felt like they always had to fill up the space, which is very common in new coaches. really practicing that and sitting with how uncomfortable it is when you're just like, very fucking uncomfortable if you're not used to doing it, right? And it creates so much spaciousness in the coaching conversation, and it invites the client to fill that space instead of you always feeling like you have to have questions, right? So that is a huge part of how valuable having a mentor coach and having that feedback so that you can be like, I am a fucking good coach. I'm so good at what I do. And just like really believing that, not having it just be like platitudes in the mirror of like, people like me. I'm likable. People like me. It's like, no, I'm really fucking good at what I do, and really owning that. And when you can step into that, that's where the confidence comes from. And then you can be like, yeah, it's $1,000 a month because I'm so fucking good at what I do. And you can step into your pricing. You can step into your next level. You can really step into the business that you want to be building. Thanks for asking, Hannah.
Thank you for sharing that. It was so good. And thank you, Val, too. That was so great to hear from you as well. It's like, it's an amazing resource. Seriously, I just had to ask and I wanted to hear more about it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, look at, we're ending on time. That literally never happens. So an email, like I said, should already have gone out. If you didn't get it, just let me know. If you have any questions about the mastermind, I'm going to be talking about this for the next month. So if you have any questions, send me a DM, respond to the email. If you're thinking about this and you're like, not sure if you're ready yet. So some of the things that I hear is like, oh, I don't feel like I'm quite there yet. I will also say that usually you're more there than you think you are. And that, one of my favorite sayings is ready is a decision. And so decide that you're ready and decide that you're joining us. And so if you want to be doing that, send me a message, set the intention. We'll figure out the logistics. We get started in June. So we have some time to chat about it. So if you have any questions, if you're wondering which pod you should be in or anything like that, reach out to me and we can have a conversation about it. Cool. All right. All right, friends. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you and have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Bye.
Thanks, Shannon.
Bye.